Hello, I'm Isaac Ostrom, and thank you for watching another one of my videos. I am a licensed tile and general B contractor in the state of California, and I've been licensed since 2003. So I have a lot of experience in not only tile work, but we got into doing bathroom remodels, and so I try to include in my channel things that are related to tile, and if you're working in a shower, odds are that you've also come across installing a shower valve. So that's why I wanted to make this video for you. And what I have, Uponor's Pex A is my favorite PEX to use, but there's always some places where you need to use copper. And when I do my valves, I like to come out of my valves with copper fittings, and then I like to tie in my PEX there, because PEX is really nice as you run it. It's bendy. You don't need all of the 90s and everything. You can just bend it. But when you get into the valve, it's nice to have copper coming out of it. So what I have here is Delta's multi-choice rough-in valve. This is an R10000, and some of the only difference is some of them have stops on them and some of them don't. This is the one without the stops. The stops allow you to shut off the water so they don't come out the outlet. The water comes into the valve and you can stop it right there. That's the only difference. And then I also have their universal rough. So I also have their universal rough-in with the integrated diverter. So I have two different style rough-ins. We use both of them. This one will just control like one function, a shower head or a tub spout and a shower head. So anyways, so the reason I like to use copper coming out of these valves, if you just use your regular PEX adapters, what happens is you can get, there's a lot of distance between here and here, and a lot of times you'll have a stud. So what I like to do is use a street 90 coming out of it, and then I'll use a piece of copper coming straight down. That way, if you have a stud right next to your valve, you know, you got a lot more room to go. And so you either put them going up or you have them coming down. So typically that's what I like to do. And then it also allows kind of a firm place for your PEX to go into. So that's why I like to use copper. If you're using PEX, don't ever go into it thinking that you're only going to use PEX. You can do it, but I know all the professional plumbers, they're always using copper where it's coming out of the wall. Critical places, they're using their copper, and mainly they're using their PEX just to run to valve or from a valve to a fitting. The places where you have a long run, PEX saves a lot of time, but when you get into the valves or you're coming out of a wall or to a fixture, all the professional plumbers, at least in California, they are using copper pipe at those places. So I'm going to show you how to use a valve, get it ready for PEX to hook into. Okay, so first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take the plastic parts off of the valve. These Delta valves are really simple. Again, I don't take any sponsorships on my channel, so I like these valves because they're simple, they work good, and you can also do use them for Brizo, which is their high-end model, but I like them. They're easy to use. Again, I'm not a sponsor for Delta. I'll use any valves, but these are my favorite to use just for ease of installation. So this is the inner openings. There's no cartridge in here. One thing you need to do before you do any of this is take any parts out of the valve that have rubber in them. So if this did have a cartridge, you'd want to take it out. So there's nothing that can overheat in here. So I always, even though this is brand new, I always wire out my places where I'm going to get new fittings. This just makes, it scarifies the surface a little bit, cleans everything up real good. So I basically have two different types of fittings. Okay, I have a PEX adapter, so the PEX goes on this side goes to copper, and I'm going to show you the difference. So I have one that will fit in a fitting, and I have one that'll fit over a pipe. So if I have this pipe, this is the fitting I would want to use, but this fitting doesn't fit on there because it's meant to fit inside of another fitting. So I have two different types. You can get either one, and they both work well for what they're going to do. On my valve there is an up, so I always make sure you find the correct direction on there. So always get your fittings, both sides, sanded out. This is emery cloth. It works really good for doing this stuff. So I always do both sides. So these are going to fit in like this. And then I'm going to do the same thing to my pipe here. Okay, so basically what I'm looking for is something that looks like this. And what I'm going to do, again, I have two different types of fittings. One that would fit inside like that, and then the ones with the cap. As we look straight down, straight at the valve, we have all the PEX adapters on there already. I just have a plug, because this is where tub would usually be. This is just for a shower, so we've plugged that side. And then on the top is where my shower outlet's going to be. That's going to go to the shower head. So we're going to connect in with PEX here, and then coming out is going to be PEX there. So now that I have everything laid out where I want to be, next thing I'm going to do is use flux paste. Nice little brush. I like to use the water soluble kind. For me it works a little bit better. But the thing is with water soluble, obviously if you get it wet, it's going to rinse out and you'll have to reapply it. So I do both sides. I do both the fitting and the pipe. I've heard some people say they only do one or the other, but for me I think it makes sense to do both. Again, if you want to leave some comments, if you guys have some steps that you think I'm missing, and it would be helpful to the rest of the viewers, I have no problem with you guys doing so, and I will leave your comments up. Even if they're kind of harsh, I don't mind criticism as long as it's helpful. Some of my viewers just kind of want to be mean, and it's not helpful, and I usually take those comments down because there's really no point to them. But if you want to help out and you got something critical that I'm doing and you want to point it out, I'm all for it. I've actually really learned a lot making these videos from people with more experience than me, and that's awesome. So yeah, I think one thing our society is lacking right now is just a willingness to learn from others who have more experience than we do. But I think it's twofold. I think there's also a lack of willingness for the older generation to be patient and teach the younger generation. So I don't think it's all, you know, us older people, you know, I don't know if I'm considered old, I'm 42, but a lot of us in my generation want to kind of blame the younger generation for not being willing to work hard or learn or do the stuff that we were taught and be teachable. But also my generation, you know, us as teachers, we need to be able to mold and adapt it's just a different generation. They learn differently, they expect to be treated differently. So it's not just them, it's us too. So, but anyways, on my channel, that's why I encourage everybody, even the guys with more experience than me, I'm willing to learn. So one thing you've seen in my other soldering videos is the solders came out kind of sloppy. And so what I do now, again, and this was one of my viewers chiming in, you know, after you apply the flux, go ahead and wipe the extra solder off of the pipes. And what that does, it doesn't create, you know, drips and ugly solder joints. If you wipe the flux off before you start soldering, you end up with a lot cleaner product. Which again, it might just be aesthetics, and this is going to be buried in a wall, but I'm all for it. I mean, let's make it look nice. Let's make it look professional. Let's take pride in what we do. So again, these are great tips that I'm learning from my viewers all the time. So here we go. Let's get ready to solder this baby up. Okay, so this is the first joint I'm going to do. I like to work my way up to the fixture so everything can kind of heat up, but I'll start here and then I'll move to the next joint. Again, this is MAP Pro gas in the yellow tube. And that's it. Real nice, easy solder joint. Didn't take much. So one thing that I'm not 100% sure of is, see this little drip that comes down? That's, I guess, you know, people will see this and they'll say, oh, you know, they call it a grape or a nugget or a candlestick or something when they got that little drip. I don't know exactly how to get rid of that. Obviously gravity is going to pull the solder down, but to me, for the most part, that didn't happen on these. We got a pretty nice little clean solder joint and everything looks really good. So the last thing I'm going to do here, and again this is really hot, but what I'm going to do is just clean off. And you can even, while this is still hot, you can use extra flux to kind of clean everything up. Get rid of those kind of the dark brown spots on there, just to give it a real nice look. Again, if anybody has any other tips for doing this, just let us know. But yeah, I'm gonna do this. One thing also that I was pointed out to me was not to use a wet rag, because that causes the copper to cool too fast and it can cause leaks. So I'm just going to clean this up real good. So what we got here is a really nice clean little valve body, all the pieces soldered in nice. Again, you could see this could fit in real tight to in a stud bay, and it's real easy to use. This is ready to go right into the wall. So we got our PEX adapters coming out, and if you want to see how the PEX piping fits onto these adapters, make sure to watch the next video coming up. In that video, I show all of this with the PEX and everything. This video was just meant to show you how to solder into a valve and get the PEX adapters on there. But if you want to see the PEX in action, check out this next video coming up. Again, thank you for watching my videos. It means a lot to me. The comments, everything is great. So I love you guys. I love being your tile coach. We'll see you on the next video.